Hey guys, welcome to the Power Hour podcast. I'm here, Andrew Arriaga,
Jeremy Montoya.
and then we're here with
Chuka Echo.
Chuka Echo. Just highlighting the week that we had this past week. So we had an event that we went to, Chuka, right?
Yep.
So HostCon, we went out to HostCon, and then Pace Morby came out and hang out with us on Monday.
Yeah.
So those of you guys that don't know Chuka, kind of tell us who you are, Chuka. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and specifically kind of what you do within the Sub2 community.
Cool. So in sub 2, I'm doing direct to agent, focusing on market, low equity, and pretty much trying to lock them up, get them on the contract, and send them to my buyers. So that's what I'm about right now.
So highlight the event. What events did we have this weekend, and then what was your big takeaway from the HostCon event?
So one event was HostCon, short-term rental conference with Rob Abasolo and his people, Host Camp. Amazing group of people, and a lot of speakers that imparted a lot of value on short-term rentals and mid-term rentals. So that's definitely a good strategy, exit strategy for some of these properties that you can get under sub 2.
So the conference was basically about, well, first off, if you guys go to any conference, the first thing you guys got to do is at least connect with 10 or 15 or 20 people. The people that I connected with are all like-minded individuals. They pay and they fly from either out of the States. One of them was out of the country, actually. And they come into events like this where they're just literally, they're wanting to learn more. They're wanting to soak up information. So the biggest takeaway that I had from this event is it wasn't necessarily a short-term rental event. It was more of, people wanting to diversify their portfolio, but also they wanted to figure out how to acquire properties creatively. And our mentor, Pace Morby, came on stage, and the very first thing that he did, which I thought was very powerful, is because, again, Pace is this big public figure, and people think, oh, man, he's going to talk about creative financing. But the cool thing about Pace is when he was speaking at this event, the first thing he did was, hey, I want you guys to raise your hand. Well, what he did is he asked all the groups. We're sitting in a group of like 50 tables, and at each table there's like 5 or 6 people, maybe like 10 people. And he's like, hey, I want you to write down on a piece of paper how much money you have access to. And I'll cut it short, but basically we put our numbers in the middle, we averaged them out, and we all raised our hand. And Pace is like, hey, who has a net worth of at least 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000? And I kid you not, the highest person in that table, the average net worth was around like 800 grand. So even though this is a networking event and they're learning about sort of creative financing, they're also learning about short-term rentals. The power of money is so important. I think the one thing I learned from that is not necessarily like there's money to be all over the place. And you just have to, it could be hiding in plain sight. So every person you talk to, networking with people, is literally find out, hey, what do you have and what do you need? And I think that was a very, very powerful thing that we took away from this weekend.
I think that comes down to, like, you don't know who you're talking to, right? Like you were saying, meeting the people out in the hallway, right? Networking with like 15, 20 people at a time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Meeting all those people and you have no idea who you're talking
to. Oh,
to.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, people, I mean, they could be having money in plain sight. And most of the time, we think of, some of us when we get started, we really don't have money to get started with, right? And we think, man, we need to find a deal, and then I need to find money. But the reality is people that have money, they're so scared that they don't know what to do with it, that they're just like, I don't want to put my asset in a risky position. So it's crazy to think the different paradigm shifts. I met a guy over the weekend at the meetup with Pace, and he's like, I'm selling a business. I'm about to make $1 million. I want to create a wholesale company. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was looking at him the whole time. I could hear Pace in the back of my head, like, no, like, you have money, you need to invest it. You need to be a lender. You need to be the bank. And some of us, when we get started, we grow and we get this hustle and we get money and we think, oh man, I got to just go hustle and go buy another business and start this other thing. But the reality is that, like, once you have money, you have to figure out, hey, how can I multiply it? But also, how can I keep it?
And then just to piggyback off what you're saying, I like how Pace alluded to, it's not a money problem. The money's out there. And like Jeremy was saying, you got to just talk to people. You'll know who you're talking to. And the quote that he said was, they make the water muddy to make it seem like it's deep. Something along those lines. But yeah, everybody can have access to it. You just got to know who you're talking to, reach out to people, connectors. And yeah.
Yeah, so that was the HostCon event, which is a really really good event. If you guys don't go to that next year, go to it. It's going to be in Houston every single year. It's catered around short term rentals, but I mean, think about it. Us, people that own short term rentals, they're putting 20% down, and then they're putting in another 40K to furnish it. Right? These people have money.
Yeah.
So for us, that we have creative strategies to minimize that, we can get paid heavily if we connect with them, right? So that's another thing to really keep in mind. So if you guys want to go to that event next year, definitely reach out. I bought like 4 people tickets this year, and the people that I bought tickets for, I mean, they loved the event. It was a phenomenal event.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I got that from Pace last year. He bought us tickets, which he always buys us tickets to all these events. And I was like, dude, it was such an powerful event. It was an impactful event for me.
Yeah.
So I want to give that back to other people. So we had that. So what else do we have this week, Chuka? What else did we do?
So then HostCon was the weekend, and then on Monday we had our meetup with Pace and everybody in the Sub 2 community power hour, open to everybody pretty much in Houston. And we had that at name the place? St. Arnold. St. Arnold's Brewery.
A couple
yeah.
hundred people. What?
Yeah,
300 people.
yeah.
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 There was more there earlier. But everyone left because it was so cold and you never got there.
I thought it was pretty nice. I thought
they had these little heater things,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't entirely cold, but what I loved about it was, when Pace showed up, he was able to speak with everybody.
Yep.
And he gave everybody the same amount of attention and insight as if he was speaking to a crowd of 1,000. So that's just amazing. True testament to Pace and what he's about and the community.
That always amazes me. Like, if you stand there, I was doing the pictures, right, helping people out through the line, but it's somehow he figures out how to connect with everybody there. He takes the time and he just connects with everybody, and he has all that energy to just continue to keep on doing that and providing value. It's
us in Sub 2, and I've realized this the last 2 or 3 months. I think we don't realize how lucky we have it to have a mentor like him.
Yeah.
People join Sub 2 and they think, I'm gonna learn creative financing, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna learn that. But the reality is that's the bottom of the barrel of the things that you learn.
Yeah.
You learn about how to raise money, how to do corporate structure. He's bringing in a family office to show us what he's doing with his business and how he's structuring it.
Zero down.
Yeah, zero down, how to buy businesses with
Yeah.
no money, right? So there's so much value within Sub 2. The mentorship is only $8 or $9 grand. It's so cheap. It should be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, to be honest. But I'll finish off with this, and I think this is really really cool. And I want to ask you this question, and I'll ask Jeremy the same question. Is we recorded Pace on our podcast, which you guys saw it last week, and then afterwards we're like, okay, what do we do, right? We're going to go walk a property, and Pace is like, I don't want to go down. I mean, I don't want to speak for Pace, but he made it seem like he doesn't want to go down to the events and sit there and be bored. He'd rather hang out with us in our community. So I think, I want to ask you this, Jeremy. What was your biggest takeaway? Because we hung out with Pace for the whole day. But we went to Buc-ee's, we went to have lunch with him. We went to a property with him. What was your big takeaway hanging out with somebody like a Pace Morby?
So there's one big takeaway that I do want to talk about. That was when we did the interview with Pace on the podcast, right? One big thing that I really appreciate about him is, let's start here. One of the big things, the advice that he gave us was talking about hiring people.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big takeaway for me. It was a big, sometimes when you never hired for that position, right? And it's new to you and you go to reach out and you hire somebody. That's something that really stood out. You're probably gonna mess it up. You're gonna probably waste other people's time, and that's something that I've went through. I'm sure you're going through, right? You've had that experience. That's something that really hits hard, right? Because you're wasting somebody's time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, us as business owners, we don't really know how to run a business yet, not to the highest capacity that we want to. But yeah, that was a really really big takeaway. What else did you take away from it?
The other big thing for me is somebody like him. Everybody sees him on TV, right? And he acts that way, and you think, is he really like that? Is he that go-giver type of person, right? And you get to sit, hang out with him that day. And all he wants to do, instead of going to the event, he wants to go hang out with us. He wants to go walk a property. He wants to go to Buc-ee's, right? Go hang out and eat some lunch with us. This is a big takeaway for me.
Chuka, what was your big takeaway from it?
My biggest takeaway was during the podcast in the morning, what I liked was he was speaking on mindset. And a lot of, you can know creative finance and everything, but if you're if your mind is not right, if you don't have the character to say, hey, this is an experience I'm going to take, it may be a little risky, but I'm willing to take that chance, then all the other stuff doesn't really matter. Yeah. The locksmith, yes, the locksmith story. So
Powerful.
definitely having the right mindset and knowing, I need to be equipped with these certain abilities, then I can make it forward. So
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is, for me, I don't necessarily I love talking to Pace, and I think he's really really a good person. But I like to see the person that he's becoming, and I emulate that to a certain extent. I want to be that same mentor for people, but not have anyone pay me for that. I want to just give. Because again, Pace says this, and he was saying it last night at family night. He's like, the reason I'm shouting is because I'm shouting loud enough for my younger self to hear about it, right?
Yeah.
So when he does do that, I do the same thing for people. Like Chuka calls me, he's like, "Hey, what do I do with this? How do I do this? How do I do that?" And I'm like, I want to do that for my younger self, and I want to talk to myself. So I think that was my biggest thing. Is he literally breaks down everything on what I want to be in 5, 10, 15 years for the community of Houston, for all of Texas. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. Just still learning stuff like that he does, even the little things, like little gestures that he does.
Yeah.
How he pays attention to people. He makes you feel unease and not really nervous.
And I just want to build off of something that you said. One thing, like of him helping out, he doesn't want to do no one-on-ones, right? He always wants to bring like a group of people in and teach them. He'd rather do that than be one-on-one with somebody.
I was gonna say, speaking of paying attention to detail, when we were at lunch and we were all sitting at the table, there was a particular person that was sitting a little bit too close, if you remember.
Oh, Jeff. Jeff. He was like all the way up against the table.
So, when you're at a table, you're sitting comfortably. There's enough space where you can rest your arms on the table. But for some reason, Pace observed Jeff, and Jeff seemed to be sitting, a little bit more closer than everybody else. So it was just funny for him to point that out. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like just having Pace as a mentor, it just motivates me and encourages me to want to help and give back. Like it motivated me to what we're doing with Power Hour, the action taking events that we're taking, but also to help people get their first deal. Like that's my mission for the next year or so. Is I want to help as many people as I can get their first deal, make their first wholesale paycheck. That really motivates me and encourages me also to go to more events as well too, hang out with people, connect with people at a higher level. I think that was really my biggest takeaway. All right, Chuka, you have anything else to say to that, Jeremy?
No, I think.
All right. Okay. So the next, what do we have coming up moving forward? What's our next big event here? What's up to?
Next big event. Okay, on November 10th, it's the men and women's brunch, and
17th got moved.
Oh, dang, it got
Aren't
moved.
you a guest speaker there?
Oh, and there's gonna be a special guest speaker for our sub 2 community, Mr. Andrew. So it's gonna be a panel of people, and basically it's gonna be a collaborative event. Realtors, investors, and Andrew will be representing our creative finance community.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's November 17th from 10 to noon. It's on a Friday, so if you guys want to come out, definitely reach out to me. Or reach out to Aldridge or Chuka. And then we have that event, and then we have our monthly meetup. So people are confused sometimes. So make sure the third Thursday of every month, we have an in-person meetup. If you guys want to meet us, ask us a question about creative financing, this is the time to do it. If you guys want to come to our actual podcast live and ask us questions, come out, ask us questions, ask us any question that you have. All right.
Yeah, that's the next meetup will be.
He doesn't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll figure it out. Okay. All right, Chuka. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. So the next guest we're going to have on is my friend Sam. So Sam, come on out with us. Woo! Man, don't clap
How's it
too
going,
loud,
Sam?
guys. Good. Nice.
Doing good.
Sam, thanks for having us. Sam, tell us who you are, what we're doing at this lovely place, and kind of give us an intro, a background of who you are.
Awesome. So I'm Sam, like Green Eggs and Ham. I work for Goosehead
I love
Insurance. Basically, what we're doing here, as far as what we're doing, kind of showing you guys how to make the insurance work on a wraparound, right? So that's one of the more complicated things, or one of the more important things when you're actually coming to the closing table, is making sure that the insurance is set up the right way so it doesn't trigger anything on the back end. So that's kind of what we're going over. I don't know if you guys have more specific questions about that or not, but happy to.
So you are what's your official title here at Goosehead?
So I'm an insurance broker.
Insurance broker.
Right.
And so what does that mean for people that have never heard anything about real estate, don't even know what an insurance broker is?
Okay. So an insurance broker, in essence, is someone that shops around from different insurance companies to find you the best or not necessarily the best price, but the best product for you, right? And so like in a subject to deal, you might be looking at a couple of different companies that'll let you structure it the right way. Where it might not be like if you just go to State Farm, you call a State Farm, they're not going to know what to do, right? So that's kind of more of what a broker does. Now for your standard broker, like if you're just calling about your auto insurance, usually just shopping around for the best price, right? Because you're talking about interchangeable products. But as far as for when it comes to something on creative financing, or if you're going to do something more of a commercial type of deal, like a short-term rental, that's something where you might want to make sure you have the right liability coverage on that too, right? Because most short-term rentals, hey, if you just go to a normal agency owner or a normal insurance agent, right, and you say, hey, I have a property I want to Airbnb, they're going to write you a policy that shows liability. But on those liability coverages, it probably will exclude liquor, right, or any kind of activity related to the short-term rental. So it'll cover you if like someone trespasses and trips and falls, but it's not actually going to cover you for your business operation. So it's kind of making sure that you're protected in the right places to actually cover, not just cover your asset, but cover you, right? Which can really be the most important part when you're in real estate, is making sure that you're actually protected for all the operations that you're doing.
Got it. And you do the traditional like residential, just homestead and all this other stuff, regular insurance, stuff like that. Okay. All right. So why would somebody want to? How would someone reach out to you? But also B, why is it beneficial to connect with somebody that's an insurance broker?
Right. So you would reach out to me just by shooting me an email. I'm happy to leave that information, but it's just sam.johnson@goosehead.com. But basically the main thing why you would want to reach out to me is because depending on your situation, right, and what you're actually trying to do and what you're trying to succeed, you're going to need a different product than what most people can supply to you, right? It needs to be structured in a way that's going to benefit you and your organization, not necessarily the person that if you're buying a property subject to, if something were to happen, you want to make sure that you're paid on that check, not the mortgage company, not the person that left, right? And so that's something that I know how to do and how to structure that, right?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, Sam's done a couple of our transactions, so I really recommend him. He's really, he helps. He's speedy. I texted him in the morning. He texted me right back there a couple hours later. So, I mean, I would reach out to Sam. If you have any questions, I mean, we'll shoot his message information there. Reach out to him. You do creative financing deals. You do your traditional residential. You also do, like, if we're doing a fix and flip, you can also insure us on that as well, too.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Anything else you think our audience needs to know about you, Sam?
No, I mean, pretty fun to get along with. If you have,
he's really good at ping pong. Ask Chuka.
Yeah, if you ask Chuka,
he beat Chuka
he'll deny I beat him multiple times. Yeah, it happened.
He beat Chuka like 10 times in a row. So it's out in the audience now.
I was gonna say Chuka, he was pretty mad about it. So
he was pissed. He was pretty pissed. All right, Sam. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, who else are we gonna get on here?
I don't know.
I already have. All right, Brenda, Miss Brenda, come on. Woo! Let's go! All right, so Brenda, tell us who you are. You're a Gator. You're in the Gator community. You went to HostCon with us. You went to the meetup this weekend. So tell us who you are. Tell us what you're doing, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Brenda Villafranco. I just started Gator about 7 weeks ago. And I just landed like my first deal a couple of weeks ago.
What?
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. I love it.
And so I really just dived into real estate this year. In April, I bought my first investment property, but I bought it the traditional way. And it wasn't until a month later that I ran into Bigger Pockets and went on this rabbit hole of Bigger Pockets. And just started listening, and then Bigger Pockets featured Pace And then that's kind of how I got into, like, he had a post on Instagram about Gator. And so I was like, oh, I think I can probably do that. Maybe that's my avatar. And so I jumped into that and just met some really great people in the community, and just looking forward to a lot of connecting. And HostCon was like amazing. That was such a really great event. But yeah, I'm a nurse. That's my specialty. And so
Wait, you can work a W-2 job and still invest in real estate?
that's correct.
What?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
clue.
No, for
That
sure.
is crazy.
And so that's pretty much, I'm networking and just trying to see if anyone needs any funding or any PMLs. If my funds are tied up, I can definitely connect people to my community of Gators. And
Yeah, you have an
there's-
infinite amount of funds,
Yes,
for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
So tell me about your first deal. Like, give me the breakdown of it for people that don't know what Gator is. Kind of tell us what your first deal was about. And
So I made it a goal to network with people and just kind of get to know them and build relationships. And so I was meeting 3 people a week during Zooms, and just part of the Gator, within the Gator community.
So
Yes.
I just want to stop you there. How that's important that you just said that, right?
Uh-huh.
Networking.
Yes.
So how were you meeting people?
I was sending them a message in Facebook and just saying like, hey, I would love to connect with you if you're an original Gator, like you have more experience, and just kind of want to get your take and kind of connect with you. And so I was having these like 30-minute, 45-minute Zooms with them,
oh wow, that's
and
good.
connecting with them. And
Did you learn a lot from that?
I did. Yeah. They
Yeah.
were asking me questions. They were giving me advice on how to vet.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's really awesome. And so from those relationships, they remembered and called me and said, hey, there's a deal within the community. If you want to be a part of it, this is how much we need, and we'll go through the process and so on and so forth.
Got it.
And that's how I got my deal. That's
Right? From
exactly how,
networking,
yes,
right?
from
That's what we were
networking.
just talking about, right?
Yeah. And
I
so
think. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I'm not an extrovert. And so it took a lot of my comfort zone, but I'm actually like liking it now.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool just meeting people. And
I think getting over the uncomfortableness of, hey, what do you do? How much money do you make? Or what do you need? I think, at least for me, an icebreaker is really good. It's like, hey, tell me about yourself, but also like, what do you have in your business? And obviously, what do you need? I think is a really, really good thing. It does 2 things, especially for people that are like introverted and they're not very extroverted.
Mhm.
It really gets the other person talking about themselves,
Mhm.
right? What
Yeah.
do you do in your business? What do you have? And then also, what do you need? We're always talking about them, and then they lower their guard down to say, well, what do you need?
Right. And it's kind of cool in a sense, because on Monday for Pace's meetup, I met another Gator that hadn't had his first deal yet. And he gave me the amount of funds that he had. He's like, it's not a lot, but I'm like, no, there's still something like within the community. And so I connected him to a deal the very next day.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'm following up with him this morning. And so
Dude,
I
that's
feel
cool.
like that's really cool.
I think networking is very, very powerful. I come to these events specifically looking for 1 or 2 different things. But yeah, I think the big takeaway for you is just continue to network. So where do you see yourself? Okay, you did your first deal. When are you going to get that return back? Do you know, in a couple of months?
I get that return in December.
In December,
It
okay.
was a 60-day deal.
Nice. So then tell me about the deal. So somebody brought it to you.
Someone brought it to me. It was to fund 66K. Funded 66K, and my ROI will be 9,900.
Wow. So 66 and you're getting 9,000 back?
Yeah, getting 9,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's pretty powerful.
yeah.
There was somebody on, you're not in sub 2 yet, but there's somebody within the sub 2 group yesterday. What did she turn over? She said she turned over, she started off with 40 grand. And then within like 2 or 3 months, she made 35 grand
Oh
back.
wow. Yeah.
She's almost
That's
doubled her
crazy.
money.
Yeah.
And she is very, very active in the community. And she seems very outgoing, very, extroverted, very bubbly, which is really, really cool. But it just goes to show you, I think networking is very key. And then I think people that get networking wrong is following up. You got to follow up with people. You can't just, hey, I met you once, and to be memorable, you have to continue to follow up.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because I think just meeting them once and then don't call them for 6 months, right? It's following them up every couple of weeks, or putting a reminder in your phone to remember to follow up, and you have that connection.
100%. All right. So last question for Brenda, and then we'll let her go. So where do you see yourself going? You're going to continue to help within the community, because being a part of the community, like if I have funds, I'm definitely reaching out to you. So where do you see yourself doing, the Gator wrestling for the next months until you get your return back? What are you going to do from now to December? And then what's your goal moving forward in January?
From now into December, I plan on getting my self-directed IRA so I can put that money into use.
Yeah.
But I also plan on building my capital so that I can buy and hold in the future.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And that's your goal. You want to buy
That's
and hold?
I would like to buy and hold.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. How can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
Instagram, Brenda Builds Wealth is my main page.
Brenda Builds Wealth or Brenda
No,
Builds Wealth?
Just Brenda Builds
Brenda
Wealth.
Builds Wealth. And I hear you can teach me one or two things about financing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can, yeah.
Follow her. She's
Yeah.
really, really good. All right, Brenda,
Thank
thanks.
you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for
it.
coming out. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
having on
much.
board. All right, we got a newbie here. Come on down, all the way from Beaumont, Texas.
Yes.
Look at this guy, bro. What's up, man?
How's it going?
Come on in.
How's
Come
it
on in.
going?
Good.
All right.
Tell us
All right.
a little bit about you.
So tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us what you're doing.
All right. My name is Caleb Daniels. I'm from Beaumont, Texas. It's about an hour and a half away from here.
Wow. How many power hours have you been to?
Probably about 5.
You've been to 5. So you've
Around,
driven
so,
an
yeah.
hour 5 times back and forth. Well, it's an hour this way, then an hour back.
Yeah, hour and a half this way, hour and a half back.
Hour and a half this way, hour and a half back.
I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking this, like I had this guy beat, but sometimes he told me he drives like 2 hours just to come to power. And you're coming pretty, I would say, pretty consistent.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love being here. Always able to connect with different people and, meet people. And I love going in. I just made 130 calls. Not too much luck, but I mean, I love doing it. It's fun. I mean, I like
Wow.
coming out here.
So you're new. You haven't gotten your first deal. What's been your
Not yet.
biggest takeaway from just coming to the power hour and hanging out with us?
The connections, really. I mean, like I make so many connections here. I've got so many more buyers that I could. Oh, sorry.
You're okay.
So many more buyers that I can, market my deals to if I get any out in Beaumont. I have a group over in Beaumont that I met. Luis and Pasha Ramos. They're the ones that told me about this. They're in Sub 2. They actually convinced me to join Sub 2.
Nice.
So yeah, I met up with them, which is it's funny how I met them actually. It was at a coffee shop, Rayo's. I was doing homework. I'm in college, and I was doing homework in one of the booths, and I saw them over in one of the other booths, and they were talking about like Gator and Sub 2, and I had my headphones that I could barely hear, so I took them out, and I was listening. I was like, are people really doing this in Beaumont? Like I didn't know people were doing that here. So I was like, okay, well, I'm packing up my stuff. I'm like, I got to talk to them. So I went over and
wow. Kudos to you for taking
I talked
action.
to them, and they were like, yeah, pull up a seat. And it was him or Luis, Pasha, and then like 3 other people that were there. It was amazing. I talked to them for probably an hour, and then that's kind of how we got started.
I think we're seeing like a common theme in this podcast, this episode, right? Networking.
Yeah.
Like he just put himself out there, right? Arms length away.
Yeah.
Let's go talk to him, right?
Exactly. I was like, I can't. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know. Yeah. So.
Back on that story, right?
Yeah. No. Definitely.
It's funny how it turns you a different direction. That's okay. So what I will say this is, so you've been to Power Hour a couple of times. What's been your biggest lesson that you've learned just coming to Power Hour? You said networking, but what other lessons have you learned?
Consistency.
Yeah.
You got to be consistent. I mean, I do door knocking, and I cold call sometimes whenever I can't get out there if it's too late or whatever. But you really just gotta. It's a numbers game. You got to be consistent. You got to do what needs to be done, and eventually you will get something done. I haven't got my deal yet, but I plan on getting it. I've got goals set. I want to get one done this month, so I'm really making calls. I'm knocking doors. Pulling lists, doing what I can to get it done. So, I mean, it's really just consistency.
I love it. Yeah, one of my really good buddies, his name is Hien Win. He been in Sub 2 for 3 years now. He was one of the original Sub 2 students. I think actually we just reached 12,000 students in Sub 2, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, we just reached 12,000
That's Pasha
members.
Ramos.
There she is.
That's what I was talking about.
But so Hien started door knocking, and he door knocked for like 6 months. Did not get a deal.
Right.
Finally, on the 6th month and like 2 or 3 days after that, he got his first 40K assignment, and he's like, I'm jumping all in.
Wow.
Now here he is this year. He's probably going to make anywhere from like $1 million to $750,000 in just wholesaling. All he does is just pre-foreclosures, probate. That's all he really does. So if you guys have any deals here in Houston, you need to help with pre-foreclosures.
Yeah.
Like he's like an expert. That's all he really does
Wow.
is pre-foreclosures and probates. So definitely connect with me. I'll connect you with him. Phenomenal dude. But yeah, so door knocking. If I've never heard of door knocking? What the heck is that, and why should I even do that?
Personally, okay, so door knocking is, you pull a list. I pull pre-foreclosure lists, and I go out. I'll put it into Apple Maps or whatever, and mark down the closest, and map it out. And then I go over and you just knock the door and pretty much just tell them that what you need to tell them. If it's pre-foreclosure, I tell them that I can help them out.
Yeah. So you're door knocking people's houses because they're on a list that you pulled, and you're trying to see if they need help with the bank, or if they need a loan modification, or if they have cash from other people.
Ways that I can help them out,
or if you can buy the house, right?
Yes, correct.
Got it. So what have you learned from door knocking that our audience you think can take away from it? What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned from door knocking?
So I think that door knocking,
just don't get shot.
Be aware of where you're at. But I think the biggest thing for me, I like door knocking a lot more than cold calling, just because you're right in front of them, right? They can tell your personality a lot better than over the phone. Over the phone, they start hearing their address being made, just hang up. So with that, you're right in front of them. You can get your point across, and I've had a lot more luck door knocking than I have with cold calling. So that's why I like it. That's why I like it.
and one question I would ask, or a lot of people probably are wondering, right? Yeah. How scary is it, right? Like, because everybody's like, now you're in front of them. How is that?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it kind of depends on your confidence as well. Personally, I've grown my confidence in doing it after doing it for some time, and after you do it for a few times, and you kind of understand what what arises and different things that they might say. You just learn how to control the situation, and it becomes a lot easier. So I mean, it's really just becoming confident in what you're doing and understanding it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I don't do pre-foreclosures or door knocking, but the biggest feedback that I've gotten about it is that you have to be sincere. Like, you have to come from a position of, hey, I want to help you.
Exactly.
And some of these people, they've dug themselves so deep into a hole that you don't know if you can help them. The only way you can help them is by buying a house, whether that's connecting them with an agent, whether that's buying their house outright cash, whether if it's doing all these creative strategies that we can do to purchase their house. Correct. I just came from a lien class this morning. Scott Horn, which is one of the attorneys that we use here in Texas. He's not only an attorney, Scott Horn himself goes door knocking as well.
Uh-huh.
Like, he is an actual investor. He's a lender. He's an attorney. That's his third avatar that he uses. But he is a real estate investor. And having something like that you can learn from is very, very powerful.
Right.
But I think he tells stories all the time about people that he does business with, and especially in pre-foreclosures, they make their decisions at the very last minute, and they try to figure out a way to fix it. And you have all the resources and the tools to be able to help them. But sometimes when we're getting started, we want to give all that to them as ammunition, and they go and they turn their back on you, and they do a deal with somebody else, or all the resources that you use, they get what they want, and then they kick you out the door. So just keep that in mind. Again, partnering up with somebody that has been doing it is very, very key. Mm-hmm. But don't be surprised if you start door knocking, especially pre-foreclosures. They're calling you the day before their house is getting foreclosed on. Guess what? They're not the only one. You're not the only one they've been called.
Definitely not.
10 or 15 other investors are reaching out to you as well too. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and one of the deals that I lead, actually, was that one that we had. I was talking to you about. He was helping me out with it. I actually got through with her because I was the only one who actually left a note. She was an older woman. I left a note at her door because she didn't answer. And yeah, a handwritten note. Literally just this book this notebook that I had. I just tore a page out and wrote, we stop foreclosures. Wrote my number and then my name at the bottom, and then just put it on the door. And then she called me back later and was like, hey, we might be able to work something out. And then she was like, people have called me, but, you left a note at my door. And, that's why I like door knocking, is because it's more personable, and you kind of get across a little bit better that way.
I love it. All right, so you're in Beaumont. You need cash buyers there. Where can people connect with you? How can we connect with you? you want to give out your phone number,
Yeah,
Instagram,
let's do,
IG?
phone number. Yeah.
Do you have an Instagram or?
Not for business.
On Facebook?
Facebook, yeah, but I don't know what my name. I could look it up.
You don't know what your name is?
No.
What?
Yeah. I'll just give you my phone number. You can text me or whatever. It's 409-673-9024.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for connecting with us, man.
I
Thanks for coming
appreciate it,
out.
man. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having us. Thanks for being out here with us.
There you go.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. I'll come over here.
All right.
All right, so let's wrap it up today. That was our episode. I don't know what episode we're on. We'll
know
figure
where
out what
we're
episode we're on. But that's it. What do you want to wrap it up with? What do you got to say?
I think the big thing out of this was the common thing was networking.
Yeah, networking. Yeah, for sure.
Like it was a big thing. I think.
Yeah. I mean, networking. I would say if you guys haven't come to a power hour, definitely come out, reach out to us, shoot us a follow on Instagram, reach out to us. I mean, we want to help you guys. So we're leaders here in Sub 2 in Houston, but we do deals all over Texas as well too. Like he's in College Station.
Yep.
You know, I do deals in Dallas as well too. So if we can't help you directly, we know somebody that will, right? And our job when we come here, we're not getting paid for this, right?
Nope.
Pace Morby doesn't pay us
Nope.
anything to do this.
We're just giving our time, right?
We're giving our time, but also we're giving our resources.
Yep.
And I think that's more valuable than anything else.
Yeah.
So if you want, connect with us. That ends our podcast here at Power Hour. We'll see you next week. Peace.